In Game 7 against the Cavs, Paolo Banchero dropped 24 points in the first half, setting a new record for the most points scored in Game 7 by any player 21 years or younger. And throughout this series, Banchero was consistently putting up quality numbers for the Magic. In this video, we're going to do a deep dive on the stats and film from this series to see what's exactly making Banchero already really productive on the court, and also go over what areas of his game he can improve on going forward. Now, with Paolo's game, the first thing that stands out is his physical tools. Banchero is a 6'10", 250-pound wing who can pretty much play every spot on the floor, and that combination of size and skill makes him a constant matchup problem. If smaller wings or backcourt players are matched up with him, it's either going to be an easy 2 points or free throws.
Wants to just volleyball him inside.
With the ball, Banchero is extremely physical. He loves to seek out contact. Plus, he has the strength to move defenders off his driving line. Watch him here catch in semi-transition. And from this spot, it's just him and Georges Niang playing one-on-one. And Paolo from here is just going to put the ball down to then throw his inside shoulder into Niang's chest. And he bounces George across the paint, forcing him to swipe down and foul. And this leads us to one of Banchero's biggest strengths, which is his ability to get to the free throw line. Because Banchero is such a big and lumbering driver, he forces the defense to get physical in order to wall him off and keep him out of the deep paint. But this allows Paolo to easily draw fouls. And what I love is that Banchero doesn't really foul bait that much. Many of his calls come from him simply attacking the basket aggressively. Take this play for example. You'll see Paolo playing in pick and roll, and the Cavs don't want to switch the screen with Darius Garland. So Banchero is going to hesitate and wait for him to move off his spot. Then he's going to attack into this open space, and he goes up with the intention to score.
Drives down a lane inside.
Now the next thing we have to go over is Banchero's mid-range game. During this series, Paolo turned into a high volume and pretty efficient in between score. Because Banchero has so much size and strength with the ball, he's comfortable using that physicality to bump and work his way to spots, to then use his height to elevate over for his jumper. Watch Paolo here drop down into a between cross. Then he gets low and throws his way into Mobley's body, causing him to stumble back into the paint, giving Banchero the airspace to settle his feet and rise up. You'll see him make a similar move here, where Banchero now catches in the lane, and he's going to again lower his shoulder and attack the defense's body. Then he turns around with plenty of space to rise up. I also think Banchero has really good footwork and balance when setting up these looks, being able to create space and rise up at awkward angles, but still finding ways to sink these looks. You'll see him here turn over his right shoulder, then flow into a step back off his right foot, and he's able to stop his backwards momentum to rise up for a stable jumper. Now on this play, Banchero is going to pivot down and fake the spin over his right shoulder to then turn towards the middle for the shot. But as he elevates, notice how Paolo's feet are initially squared up with the sideline, which obviously isn't an ideal shooting stance. But watch how Banchero is going to rotate his hips as he elevates to get himself angled to the rim. Banchero this year has also developed really good deceleration off the bounce, being able to attack into open space to then stop on a dime and rise up for a stable jumper. And because Paolo is a real downhill scoring threat, he's able to leverage that to get the defense off balance. Watch him here drop down into a simple right-hand drive, but as he starts coming downhill, notice how Mobley completely rotates his hips to meet Banchero at the rim. And when Paolo stops for this left-right jumper, Evan has no chance of stopping his backwards momentum. We can see the same effect on this play, where Paolo now hits a quick left to right crossover, and as he takes this dribble downhill, notice how Niang completely opens up his stance, which again gives Banchero the leverage to stop and pop this jumper. This is also a tough move and shot here, where Paolo is going to attack into this gap and pick up the ball through the help side. Then he's going to decelerate off the second step and rise up for this vertical 1-foot jumper. So right now, I think Banchero is developing into a really effective paint and mid-range scorer. His size and strength allows him to overwhelm matchups, creating layups and fouls at the rim. And Banchero can also use that paint scoring to create space for his pull-up game. Plus, I also think Paolo is adding some pretty dynamic footwork and separation moves into his bag. But I do think there's a few things that's limiting Paolo's on-ball creation, and the first thing that stands out to me is his ball handling. Now, Banchero is good at using his body to bump and chisel his way to spots, but at the same time, I don't think he has a super dynamic game off the dribble. He's not the kind of player that's going to square up and consistently shift the defense out of his frame. Off the bounce, I do think Paolo is a little bit stiff, which makes it harder for him to break down the first line of defense, and also deal with multiple defenders who jump on him. And if Banchero has a defender who can match up with his strength, he does have a hard time creating efficient offense. Once Paolo's initial drive gets cut off, his only real counter is to spin or get into a step back, which leads to him taking a bunch of these tough contested twos. Now, like we've gone over, Banchero has the ability to sink these looks, but these are still tough shots for an offense to stomach in a 7-game series. And going forward, I think Paolo is going to have to both find ways to create more space into his jumper, plus develop his handle to more consistently break down the defense and put more pressure on the rim. Like on this play, he's playing in isolation at the top of the key, and he doesn't really do anything off the bounce to get the defense off balance. He just attacks to his right, and once he gets cut off, his only counter from here is to spin out into a fadeaway. Now, Banchero still finds ways to score when playing off the ball, and against the Cavs, Paolo shot a ridiculous 57% on all his catch and shoot threes. And that is enough by itself to make him an effective floor spacer off the ball.
5 or 6 offensive rebounds.
Orlando also likes to use Banchero as a screener, where he has the ability to both pop out and knock down threes, plus catch and attack downhill to get buckets in the paint. So while I do think Banchero has some room for improvement with his on-ball creation, his physical tools and skill allows him to play pretty much any offensive role. He can be a spot-up shooter, cutter, screener, or he can initiate the offense as your lead guard. And then on top of Banchero's ability to score from pretty much every spot, he's also a really good passer. So because Banchero is a constant matchup problem, the defense commonly throws multiple defenders at him, and Banchero is great at making the simple read and punishing these aggressive coverages. You'll see him here briefly pull 2 defenders towards the ball, and as the weak side sinks in to collapse the paint, Paolo's going to make the simple swing pass for a 3. Banchero's also great at punishing blitzes off these screens. Notice here how he's going to attack and turn the corner right past his double, to then pull the backline defense up and create a layup at the rim. Banchero's height also plays a big factor in his playmaking, being able to see over the defense and make these cross-court passing reads. On this play, Banchero's backing down into the paint, and as the defense collapses, Paolo has the height to simply turn and whip this dime over to the corner. Banchero's also getting pretty comfortable using his eyes to set up passing reads. Watch him here pick up and look towards the cutter, which pulls this defender down and sets up another corner 3.
First 4. Wagner.
And all that versatility on offense carries right over to Banchero's defense, where Paolo has the perfect build to guard 1 through 5. Obviously, his big 6'10 frame adds to Orlando's ridiculous size, but Banchero also has the mobility to step out and guard perimeter scorers, where he has the foot speed and balance to stay in front of the ball, plus the length to extend up and alter shots. So Paolo Banchero has the physical build and skill to pretty much play any position on both sides of the ball, and it's pretty scary that Banchero is only in his 2nd NBA season. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think of Paolo Banchero's game. The kid's here.